Hello friends, this is Anand Pai, founder of Academy in Pursuit of Engineering Excellence Apex. Today we are going to continue with our fluid mechanics course. In that we are starting with chapter 2, fluid statics and pressure. Okay, so what is pressure? Pressure, we know, everybody knows what is pressure, is it not? Pressure is force per unit area. In terms of mathematically speaking, it is limit delta A tending to 0, delta F by delta I. Delta F is the small force divided by small area. That's what delta means. Delta doesn't mean F2 minus F1. It means small force by small area. So what is the unit? Unit of pressure is Newton per meter square. Now there is something else which has the same units. The thing which has is stress. So pressure and stress have the same unit. Then what is the difference? This is very small thing which people would have known in the second year itself, but still we will see. Pressure and stress. Okay. So stress is about internal reactive forces against the forces of deformation, but pressure is externally applied. So pressure is action and stress is the reaction. That is the you will get stressed if you try to resist the pressure. Okay. So this is one of the things. Now there are much more differences. Okay. Next question is, pressure is a scalar or a vector? Any answers? Pressure is a scalar. Okay. Then what about stress? Stress, whether it is scalar or vector? It's neither a scalar nor a vector. It's a tensor. What is a tensor? We will see. Okay. But before that, when stress and pressure both are force per unit area, why one is scalar, the other is tensor? Natural question, we will see. So the question is, when stress and pressure both are force per unit area, why pressure is a scalar whereas stress is a tensor? Let us see this. Now when we say a stress at a point, this is how we represent. Say this is a material element and on this elements there are forces. These are normal forces and these are shear forces. If I say this face I generally call it as X face. Okay, one where X is it is the normal to that is X, so we generally say it is X face. This is the Y face. Okay, so now let us see much more. Now when we say stress and pressure both are the same, but the way we take it is different. We will see how. Okay, stress at a point can be referred by 9 components. It is not one component. See, always when you say tensor, to define a tensor, first I will tell you that vector is a first order tensor, scalar is a second order tensor, stress is a I'll repeat again. So vector is a first order tensor, scalar is a zeroth order tensor, whereas stress is a second order tensor. Then we have something called modulus of elasticity. Okay, or elastic tensor, elasticity tensor. Elasticity tensor has 91 components. Okay, sorry, 81 components. I'm sorry again. It has 81 components. Okay, but stress and strain both are tensors with 9 components. So this material element is actually a point, and in that point the stresses, if you say this one, this is tau xx, we can write it sigma xx, but I have to maintain uniformity I have wrote tau xx. Okay, tau is generally with shear stress and sigma is with normal stresses, but I have said tau xx, xx denotes normal stresses. So this is xx. Then here we have tau yy, is similarly z direction when it comes normal to this paper. Okay, so you have tau zz, xz, yz, everything depends on what are the shear forces. All these things we can see in strength of materials, how we denote positive and negative. But one thing happens. Now when I change the orientation of x and y, the values that tau xx, tau xy, tau xz takes changes. So the stresses on these stresses at a point, the stress tensor at a point changes with the orientation of the axis, and at some orientation we have maximum and minimum stresses. Okay, and that is called principal stresses. You remember that, right? Principal stresses. So what happens, as we change the orientation, the value of stresses changes, and also the stress cannot be defined by one component, it has to be defined by 9 components. Now let us see about pressure. Pressure, however the orientation is, at a point the pressure is the same. That means that is what is called the Pascal's law. The magnitude of pressure at a point is irrespective of the orientation. That means whether if you say a particular phase, for example this one, if it is like this, the pressure is normal to this. If it is like this, it is normal to this direction. So whichever the direction of the phase is, the pressure is normal to it. That means the pressure has distributed equally in all directions. That is another way of saying the Pascal's law, that pressure is distributed equally in all directions, or magnitude of pressure at a point is irrespective of the orientation. Okay. Now let us see the proof of the Pascal's law. Now let us take a small triangular element which has side lengths delta x, delta y and delta s. On these faces, side faces, we have the pressures Px, Py and Ps acting. Okay. And it has an angle theta here, this internal angle. Okay. Now let us do the force balance in the x direction. Now when we do the force balance in the x direction, we get Px into delta y into 1 inside the paper, Ps into s, Ps into s into 1 into sine theta. The component of this here is this force into sine theta. You can do the trigonometry and you can see that. And now this is Px plus delta y is equal to Ps into delta s into delta y by delta s, because theta, sine theta is equal to opposite by hypotenuse. Opposite is delta y and hypotenuse is delta s. So what happens here, delta y and delta y cancels, delta s and delta s cancels, and what we get is Px is equal to Ps. Similar way we will do force balance in the y direction. When we do force balance in the y direction, the additional thing what comes is the weight of this element. Okay, so the weight of the element I can take rho g delta x into delta y by 2 into 1, and you have here instead of sine theta you have cos theta. The other things are same. So we are going with the vertical direction. Okay, so here if the element is very small, we can actually neglect this, and we are seeing the for the stress at a point. So sorry, pressure at a point. When we see pressure at a point, point doesn't have a weight, so we can neglect this, and when we neglect this we get this. Cos theta can be written as delta x by delta s, and delta s cancels, delta x cancels. We get Py is equal to Ps. So Px is equal to Ps and Py is equal to Ps. This can implies that Px is equal to Py into Ps. Now this theta is arbitrary, so we can change this theta to any angle. So whatever the angle we change, Ps will be equal to Ps is equal to Py. That means in any direction we take the pressure at a point, it is the same. So that is one of the major thing about our Pascal's law. Okay, and that is the proof. Now this can be done in 3 dimensions also. Instead of taking a triangle like this, we can take a tetrahedron and we can prove it also. Okay, here what happens, the extra thing delta z comes into picture. Okay, x, y and z also we have to take, and everything gets cancelled, you can work out. Okay, now let us see one of the applications of Pascal's law. The major application of Pascal's law is in the case of in the field of hydraulics and pneumatics. Okay, in hydraulics and pneumatics you need to create large forces using just a compressor. Okay, now how does this particular thing work? How can you create large forces? We will see. Okay, let us take an example of a hydraulic jack. Okay, in case of a hydraulic jack, let us assume that we have a fluid domain where you have 2 cylinders connected along each other. One cylinder is very large and the other cylinder is very small, and there are 2 pistons attached to these both cylinders. On one of the pistons you have placed a heavy object, say a car, and here we have to create force and we have to try to lift this car. That is the main purpose. Okay, now here the force what is created, this F, is a small force compared to the weight of this particular car. Okay, now this small force what is there here, because of this small force acting on a small area, you get large pressure, and this same pressure is transmitted along this fluid or oil generally, okay, along this oil or a fluid. It can be in hydraulics it's oils, in case of pneumatics it is air. But what happens, the pressure gets transmitted along all this direction. The pressure over here will be the same pressure over here, because every point of the fluid there has to be a force balance, correct? So whatever extra force that is generated here is passed on everywhere, and the same pressure will be here. Whatever the pressure which is acted here will be the pressure over here. But now what happens, because the pressure is the same and the area is large, the force what is generated, the larger cylinder will be much larger, okay. Now let us see this. So here F by A is equal to mg by A, otherwise for equilibrium. So what happens, small force on a small area is equal to large force on a large area. Now you may ask, sir, does it not violate energy laws? No, because what happens, the principle of conservation of energy is conserved in this sense that this force into the distance travelled will be the same as this force into the distance travelled. That means this force will travel a large distance for this force to travel a small distance. So energy will be conserved, okay. So here this is what is used. So what should happen, actually this should be really large and this can lift a small, for a small distance only this can be lifted. Now this becomes difficult, you can't create such a large piston. So what they do is they pump oil at high pressures. So since you pump oil at high pressures, what happens, whatever the oil is being occupied here is pumped from another reservoir, okay. So you have a compressor and that is pumped into this particular part, and this particular car or heavy object is lifted, okay. So what is important is what is the pressure which we are creating here, okay. So here force, whatever the force required here is equal to mg into A by A. So smaller this A by A, smaller this force is, okay. So or larger this area, smaller this force. So you can do two things, you can increase this area or reduce this area. This is the way the hydraulic jack works. Similar way any hydraulics work, okay. For example, even the JCBs you see, they create large forces and you can see a cylinder there, okay. So the amount of force what is generated is proportional to the pumping power or the pressure that is created in the compressor, okay. So that is very important. Pumping power, not exactly the pumping power, because pump there is a increase of pressure is small compared to the compressor. So here a compressor is used to increase the pressure, and that pressure makes creates large forces when the area is very large, okay. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, you have studied something new. This is the second chapter, so we will continue with this, and this will help you for your competitive exams. So kindly subscribe this channel, click the bell icon for the further notification, and so like it, press like if you have liked this video, and if you have any suggestions, any comments, any doubts, please comment on the video, and thank you very much and best of luck.